here we go. Let's share this screen here. All right. All right, so here we go. Back to the following problems. Again, this is different from solving the problem. It's just factoring. All right. So notice that you have three terms here, 1, 2, and 3 here. Okay, so if there's three terms, you're usually going to use the X method or the box method if you were introduced to that. All right, so here's the X method here. The A is 1, the B is 7, and the C is 6. Right? You're going to multiply A times C here. You're going to put 6 up here. You're going to put a 7 below here. Sorry, it's going to go a little slower. And then two numbers that multiply into the 6 and add up to the 7. It'll be 6 and 1, right? And because the A is 1, you don't have to do that last step. Okay, you could just go n plus 6 and n plus 1. Okay, the 6 goes right here, the 1 goes right here, right? Okay, so because of that, you don't need to do that extra step. For number 2, all right, notice that you have an A of 2, so you do have to do that extra step, all right? So it is 30, right? A times C, A is 2, B is equal to negative 11, and C is equal to 15. All right. So A times C is 30, B is negative 11. You multiply two numbers that multiply into the 30, add up to negative 11, will be negative 6 and negative 5, right? And then you're going to do the extra step where you put the 2 on top here. Simplify the fractions. This is 1 over negative 3. This stays as 2 of negative 5. So we have 1k minus 3 and 2k minus 5. Remember, the top number goes in front of the variable, and the bottom number is the constant, is the number that's by itself right here. The 3 right here is by itself. The 1 is in front of the k. But again, I don't have to write 1. Cool? Any questions on that? Actually, no questions right now. Okay, number 3. We're going to do grouping. Am I going too fast? We're good? Okay. Grouping. We're going to group the first 2. We're going to group the second 2. All right. And then we take the GCF, the greatest common factor of each of these groups. So if you look here, it's 4x squared. All right. And what's left inside would be x minus 3. Right? Because if you divide 4x cubed divided by 4x squared, it's x. 12x squared divided by 4x squared is 3. Plus, you factor out a 2 here, and what's left inside it will be the x minus 3 as well. Then you take out the 4x squared and the 2, and you put it as one factor of 4x squared plus 2, and then the x minus 3. And that is your answer. You have factored this. That's it. Right? Number 4, notice that they're both squares, and you're subtracting the square. So you're going to use the difference of squares formula. A squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b. All right. So notice that, what you'd have to do is, in order for you to get the a, you would have to square root. A squared is equal to 16a squared. So a is equal to the square root of 16a squared, which is 4a. And the b squared is equal to 9. So b is equal to 3. All right. So we're going to plug this in and this into this formula right here, which is 4a plus 3 and 4a minus 3. All right. Next question here. You guys need to copy that down? You're good? Give you guys a second to copy that down. And also remember, when it says factor, you can just leave it that way. If it tells you to solve, make sure you make it equal to 0, and then solve for the variable. Okay, so there's a difference there, and we're gonna dive into that a little bit. Right. Number 5, notice that this is the sum of cubes. All right, they're both cubes. What's a cube again? Cube is like 3 cubed is 27, so this is a cube. 4 cubed is 64, so 64 is a cube. All right, so you're adding 2 cubes here, and that formula is a cubed plus b cubed is equal to a plus b, and then a squared minus ab plus b squared. All right. So in order for us to find or to factor this out, what we need to do is we need to find the a to the first power, a by itself. Right now we have the a cubed. The a cubed is equal to 8x cubed. So a is equal to the cube root of 8x cubed. A is equal to 2x. Okay. Give me a second, Chad. Yes, what's up? Oh, that one? Is it flipped over? Yeah. Okay. All right, and then b cubed is 64. So b is the cube root of 64. So b is equal to 4. I should have told you guys that was front and back. Sorry about that. So now plug these numbers in. It will be 2x plus 4, right? Because the a is 2x, the b is 4. And then what? 2x squared minus 2x times 4 plus 4 squared. All right. So if we simplify that, it'll be 2x plus 4. This will be 4x squared minus 8x plus 16. You could factor out a 4, or you can just keep it that way. That's fine. So whenever you do either the difference of squares or the sum of squares, this portion right here, you can just leave it like that. That's fine. Okay. You can factor out the 4 if you would like, but you don't have to. Okay. You can factor out a 2 here as well, but you don't have to. Okay. All right, number 6. Number 6 is here. Look, notice that there's 3 terms. So automatically, a lot of people just do the GCF. Oh, sorry, automatically people do the X method, but what you need to do is you need to do the GCF first. So you take out the greatest common factor, and the greatest common factor is -5. And what you want to do is make sure that the leading coefficient is positive. Try to make sure, if you can, try to make the leading coefficient positive because it makes your life a lot easier. All right. So if I take out -5, what's left inside? It'll be x. Sorry, if I take out -5x, it'll be x squared plus x minus 42, right? All right. So what I did was I took out the -5, and the leading coefficient is, which is right here, which is the number in front of the x squared, is positive. All right, and that's what you generally want to do because then factoring becomes a lot easier. So if I multiply a times c here, all right, so you're going to factor this middle portion. This is 1, this is -42, this is +1. two numbers that multiply to the 42 and add up to the 1 would be 7 and -6. And because the x squared, the number in front of the x squared is 1, we don't need to do that extra step. So the final factors are x plus 7 and x minus 6. And then you put the -5x in front. This is your factored equation. Again, if they tell you to solve it, what you would have to do is you would have to make -5x equal to 0, x plus 7 is equal to 0, x minus 6 equals to 0. Okay, and then solve those answers out. So the answers would be x equals 0, x equals -7, x equals +6. Okay. Number 7, use a quadratic formula. All right, for this, and then you'd have to graph the solutions here. So quadratic formula, remember you need to put it in the standard form, which is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Right now, there's a 4 right here. We need to shift that over here. In all honesty, you need to make it equal to 0. So you need to shift everything to one side of the equal sign. So if we do that, it's 20q squared plus 19q plus 11. Oh, sorry, you subtract the 4, so it'll be plus 3. All right, now we have the a of 20, the b of 19, and the c of 3. We plug that into the quadratic formula, it would be -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so what? It's -19 plus or minus the square root of 19 squared minus 4 times 20 times 3 all over 2 times 20. So you see what I'm doing there? I'm just plugging in numbers into the quadratic formula there. All right. If I compute this out, is what's 19 squared? So you have -19 plus or minus 19 squared is 361 minus 4 times 20 is 80. 80 times 3 will be 240 all over 40. You plug this all in, it'll be -19 plus or minus the square root of, this is what, 121 all over 40. You compute this out, this is -19 plus or minus 11 all over 40 because the square root of 121 is 11. So -19 plus 11 over 40. -19 minus 11 over 40. Compute this out, this would be -8 over 40, which is equal to -1 over 5. And this is -30 over 40, which is what? -3 over 4. So these are your two zeros here. Those are your two solutions. So now how do I graph this? How do I graph the solutions here? If I graph it on the XY axis here, it will be, let's say this is -1. -1 over 5 would be like right here. -3 over 4 would be like right here. And those are your two solutions there. Okay, so you're just graphing the x-intercepts there. All right. Again, they're almost done. Need an extra second, are you good? Number 8 we did earlier, but we'll do it again for the sake of recording. I'm gonna add the 2 to both sides here. Because again, we wanna put the constant on the other side of the equal sign when we complete the square. So it'll be 2x squared minus 8x is equal to 4. And you want to kind of leave a space between the 8x and the equal sign. And then you want to factor out the 2. You don't want to factor out the x because you're completing the square. So factor out the 2. And remember, you're going to do this thing where it's b divided by 2 squared. So the b is 4. 4 is over 2, which is 2. 2 squared is 4. So you're going to add 4 to both sides here. You have 4 here and you add 4 here. Sorry. By adding 4 here, you have to multiply this by 2. And so, sorry, you're going to have to add the 8 here. My fault. So then if you were to factor this out in the x method here, let's do that. It would be a times c is 4. This would be -4. 2 numbers that multiply to the 4 add up to the -4 would be -2 and -2. There's no, the a right here is 1, so you could just leave it. This is x minus 2 times x minus 2. Again, notice that when you add the 4 here, you get a squared factor. So it's 2 times x minus 2 squared is equal to 12. Then you divide by 2. And so what? X minus 2 squared is equal to 6. Square root both sides here. So x minus 2. If you square or if you square root a square, the square root goes away, the square goes away, equals plus or minus radical 6. I'm going to add the 2 to both sides to get x by itself. So we have x is equal to 2 plus or minus radical 6. It'll be 2 plus radical 6 and 2 minus radical 6. That's what this means. So now when you graph this, you have to go, so radical 6 is 2.4 if you put it on the calculator. So if you add 2 plus 2.4, it'll be 4.4. You add 2 subtracted by 2.4 is 0.4. And then if you graph this, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4.4 is right here. Sorry, this is negative 0.4. And then here's negative 1, so negative 0.4 will be right here. All right. Again, so you're just graphing the x-intercepts. Cool. All right. Number 9. Show must go on. Sorry, I know this is long, but show must go on. Here you go. Number 9. Solve by graphing. All right. Again, remember how to graph. You would have to put this in standard form. Add the 2x to the 8x. And add the 3 to the 3. This becomes x squared plus 10x is equal to 0. Remember, when you graph, you have to get the negative b over 2a, you need to get the vertex. And when they say solve by graphing, what you need to do is you need to find where the parabola hits the x-axis. Okay, so we need to find the vertex because once we find the vertex, we then kind of can know what numbers to plug in to the formula. So it would be, so a is 1, b is 10. We plug that in here, it'll be negative 10 over 2 times 1, which is equal to negative 10 over 2, which is equal to negative 5. All right, so the x value of the vertex is negative 5. We need to find the y value, and to find the y value, we have to plug it into the equation. We plug it in here, it'll be -5 squared plus 10 times -5. Y is that equal to, this is 25, the -25. So it'll be -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the -25 will be down here. Then plug in numbers left and right of this. Okay, so here's the 5. I'm gonna plug in 4, and I'm gonna plug in -4 and -6. So I plug in, so I'm gonna make a table of values here. Okay, and then it'll be y is equal to x squared plus 10x. Plug in -4 and -6. And remember that if I plug these in for the x, they're gonna have the same y value because they're both symmetrical on both sides. All right, so y is equal to -4 squared plus 10 times -4, which is 16 minus 40, which is -24. -24. So it didn't really go up that much going on one or the other. If 0 is nearby, like here, because it only went up 1, check out 0. See what happens with 0. So you know how it went from -5 to 0? So the same, I'm gonna get the same y value if I do 5 this way, so that'll be -10. So try 0 and -10. So y is equal to 0 squared plus 10, and then times 0. 0 squared is 0 plus 10 times 0 is 0. So that's gonna be 0. So what do you know? That's 0, 0, and -10 is where the parabola hits the x-axis. Okay, how do we know that? When y equals 0, that's your goal. That's that you have made it there. Okay. Cool. Number 10, imaginary numbers. We went over this the other day. Oil will be -24 plus 72i minus 24i plus 72i squared. So it'll be what? I squared is -1. So it'll be -24 minus 72 plus 72i minus 24i. So I'm just kind of regrouping this so that I can kind of combine like terms better. So at the end of the day, this is -96. 72 minus, is it 48, 68, 48, yeah, plus 48i. I'll probably add another imaginary number question similar to the one that we did the other day, just for your information, okay? So, yeah. Are we good? Any questions on it? I mean, you guys should have done a lot of these, and so, just by hopefully, correcting work and stuff like that, okay? Sorry, this is running a little bit longer than I thought. All right, so this is grouping. I'm gonna quickly do this. It'll be -x cubed. This will be x plus 8. Add 7, and then this will be x plus 7x. It'll be x plus 8. And then by doing that, right, I took out the GCF, They have the same binomial inside the parentheses, so you can combine the external, you can combine this and this and make it one factor. And then x plus 8. That's your answer. You can factor out the x if you want for here, but no need to. It's not going to get you anywhere. Yeah. All right, and then quadratic formula, add the 204. So it'll be 3x squared plus 48x plus 204 equals 0. Does 204 go to 3? 68. So we could factor out the 3, and then you could go x squared plus 16x plus 68. And that might be a little bit easier. This might be a little bit easier to do with the quadratic formula. So the a is equal to 1, the b is equal to 16, and the c is equal to 68. So remember the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So it'll be negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 16 squared minus 4 times 1 times 68. All over 2 times 1. This is negative 16 plus or minus 16 squared, 56, minus 4 times 68, 272, all over 2. Then I figure out this is equal to negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 minus 272 is 16. This would be negative 16 all over 2. When we have a negative inside the square root, we're going to have imaginary numbers, so it'll be negative 16 plus or minus 4i, right? Because this is negative 1 times radical 16. This equals I, this equals 4. That's how I get the 4i. All over 2. Final answer is negative 8 plus or minus 2i. That's all you can do.